In a quiet little town surrounded by green hills and thick forests, life moved at a slow, predictable pace. People woke up early, went to work, came home for dinner, and repeated the same routine day after day. It was an ordinary place where extraordinary things rarely happened, or so everyone thought. But there was one person who didn't quite fit into this picture of normalcy: Clara Bennett. Clara wasn't like the others in her town. She worked as a junior scientist at the local research facility, but instead of focusing on practical experiments or projects that could bring immediate benefits, she spent most of her time studying something no one else took seriously: unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. Her coworkers often teased her about it, calling her Space Cadet whenever they passed her desk. They rolled their eyes when she talked passionately about alien civilizations or the possibility of extraterrestrial life visiting Earth. No one respected her. Not really. To them, Clara was just a dreamer chasing fantasies straight out of science fiction movies. Even her boss, Mr. Harris, frequently reminded her to focus on more realistic tasks. "We're here to solve problems on Earth, not chase ghosts in the sky," he would say with a dismissive wave of his hand. But Clara didn't care what anyone thought. Deep down, she knew she was onto something important. Ever since she was a child, she had been fascinated by the mysteries of space. Her father used to take her stargazing on clear nights, pointing out constellations and telling stories about how ancient civilizations believed the stars held secrets of the universe. Those memories stayed with her, fueling her curiosity as she grew older. Now as an adult, Clara spent almost every evening on the roof of her modest house, staring through a telescope she'd saved months' worth of paychecks to buy. She kept detailed notes in a worn-out notebook filled with sketches, observations, and calculations. Some nights, she barely slept, too excited to stop watching the skies. One chilly autumn evening, something unusual caught her attention. As she adjusted the lens of her telescope, she noticed strange patterns forming among the stars. At first glance, they looked like random clusters of light moving across the sky. But as she studied them closer, she realized these weren't ordinary stars. They were shifting positions in ways that defied natural laws. Her heart raced as she grabbed her notebook and began jotting down everything she saw. The lights seemed to pulse rhythmically, almost as if communicating with each other. Then, without warning, they disappeared entirely, leaving behind only empty darkness. For hours, Clara replayed the event in her mind, trying to make sense of what she had witnessed. Was it some kind of atmospheric distortion, a glitch in her equipment, or was it something else? Whatever it was, it felt significant. Something big was happening, and she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity needed to prepare. The next morning, Clara rushed to the research facility, eager to share her findings with her colleagues. She burst into the lab, holding her notebook tightly in her hands. "You won't believe what I saw last night," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. Her co-workers exchanged amused glances before turning back to their work. One of them, a man named Greg, smirked and said, "Let me guess. You spotted another alien spaceship?" "No, listen," Clara insisted, ignoring his sarcasm. There were strange patterns in the sky. They moved in coordination, like they were following a plan. Mr. Harris sighed and leaned back in his chair. "Clara, we've been over this. There's no evidence of alien life. What you're describing sounds like optical illusions caused by weather conditions." "But I have data," Clara protested, flipping through her notebook. "Look at these readings. Something is out there and we need to figure out what it is." Unfortunately, her pleas fell on deaf ears. No matter how hard she tried, no one took her seriously. Frustrated but undeterred, Clara decided to investigate further on her own. Over the next few days, she dedicated every spare moment to analyzing the data she had collected. What she discovered shocked her. The energy signatures from the mysterious lights were unlike anything she had ever encountered. They pulsed at frequencies far beyond human technology and seemed to interact with Earth's magnetic field in bizarre ways. It was as if whatever created those lights wasn't just observing, it was testing. As the days passed, the phenomenon grew stronger. More reports started coming in from around the world. Pilots described seeing strange formations of lights near airports. Astronomers reported anomalies in satellite images, and amateur stargazers captured videos of glowing orbs hovering silently above cities. Still, many dismissed these accounts as hoaxes or misinterpretations. Governments issued vague statements urging calm, assuring citizens that there was nothing to worry about. But Clara knew better. Something was coming and humanity wasn't ready. Despite the growing evidence, Clara continued to face ridicule from her peers. Every time she brought up her theories, they laughed her off, refusing to entertain the idea that aliens might actually exist. It was lonely being the only one who believed, but Clara refused to give up. She knew deep down that she was right. Little did she or anyone else know, the truth was about to reveal itself in a way no one could have imagined. High above Earth, forces beyond human comprehension were gathering, preparing to make their presence known. And when they finally did, the entire world would change forever. For now, though, Clara remained a solitary figure, standing watch under the vast expanse of stars. Each night, she climbed onto her roof, her telescope trained on the heavens, waiting for the moment when the universe would answer her questions. Until then, she vowed to keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing, even if no one else did. The morning started like any other. The sun rose lazily over the hills, casting golden light across Clara's small town. Birds chirped in the trees and people went about their usual routines. Children headed to school with backpacks slung over their shoulders, while adults sipped coffee as they drove to work. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. But beneath the surface of this calm, something strange was brewing. For weeks now, reports of unusual phenomena had been trickling in from all corners of the globe. Pilots described seeing glowing orbs hovering near airports. Amateur astronomers captured videos of strange lights dancing in the night sky. Even casual stargazers noticed patterns in the stars that seemed unnatural. Yet, despite mounting evidence, most people dismissed these accounts as hoaxes or optical illusions. After all, how could anything truly extraordinary happen in a world so ordinary? Clara, however, knew better. She had spent countless nights studying the skies, documenting every detail she observed. Her notebook was filled with sketches, calculations, and notes scribbled in haste. The energy signatures she recorded were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. They pulsed at frequencies far beyond human technology and interacted with Earth's magnetic field in ways that defied explanation. Whatever was causing these anomalies wasn't just observing, it was testing. But no matter how hard she tried, Clara couldn't convince anyone else to take her seriously. Her colleagues continued to laugh off her theories, calling her space cadet whenever she mentioned aliens or extraterrestrial threats. Even her boss, Mr. Harris, grew impatient with her insistence on pursuing what he called wild goose chases. "Clara," he said one afternoon, leaning back in his chair, "I understand you're passionate about your work, but we need to focus on real-world problems. There's no proof of alien life, and until there is, I suggest you stop wasting time chasing fantasies." Clara clenched her fists but didn't argue. She knew arguing wouldn't change their minds. Instead, she resolved to keep working quietly, gathering more data and preparing for whatever might come next. Deep down, she felt certain that something big was approaching, something humanity wasn't ready for. Her suspicions proved correct sooner than she expected. It happened on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday afternoon. The sky above Earth began to shimmer unnaturally, almost as if reality itself were being stretched thin. At first, it looked like heat waves rippling across asphalt on a hot summer day. But then, the shimmering intensified, spreading outward until it covered entire sections of the atmosphere. People stopped what they were doing and stared upward, their faces etched with confusion and awe. In cities around the world, crowds gathered in streets and parks, pointing at the sky. Social media exploded with posts as people shared photos and videos of the bizarre phenomenon. Some speculated it was a government experiment gone wrong. Others thought it might be a natural occurrence, like the aurora borealis appearing in unexpected places. No one dared to consider the truth, not yet. Then came the sound. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground and into the bones of everyone who heard it. It wasn't loud enough to hurt, but its presence was undeniable. Dogs barked wildly, birds took flight, and animals fled into hiding. Humans froze in place, their hearts pounding as fear crept into their minds. And then the sky split open. Literally. A massive tear appeared high above Earth, stretching wide like a wound in the fabric of space. Through this rift emerged enormous ships unlike anything humanity had ever seen. These weren't sleek saucers or tiny probes. They were colossal structures resembling ancient warships from human history. Each vessel bristled with weapons and glowed with an eerie blue light that illuminated the surrounding clouds. Panic erupted instantly. People screamed and ran in every direction, unsure of what to do. Cars screeched to a halt in the middle of highways, and phone lines jammed as everyone tried to call loved ones. In offices, schools, and homes, people huddled together, watching in horror as the alien fleet descended closer to Earth. Governments scrambled to respond. Military bases activated emergency protocols, launching fighter jets to intercept the invaders. News anchors delivered frantic updates, their voices trembling as they urged citizens to stay indoors and remain calm. Scientists gathered in conference rooms trying to analyze the situation and come up with solutions. But nothing worked. Missiles fired at the alien ships exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. Attempts to communicate via radio frequencies ended in silence. Humanity stood powerless before a force it couldn't comprehend. Amidst the chaos, Clara watched in stunned disbelief. She had always known aliens might exist, but she never imagined they would arrive like this, in overwhelming numbers, wielding technology far superior to anything humans possessed. Her heart raced as she realized the full scope of the threat. This wasn't just a visitation. It was an invasion. Despite her shock, Clara forced herself to think clearly. She grabbed her laptop and began analyzing live satellite footage of the alien ships. Their movements were precise and coordinated, suggesting they followed strict orders. Energy readings showed spikes whenever the ships adjusted their positions, hinting at vulnerabilities in their systems. As she studied the data, a chilling realization dawned on her. The aliens weren't here to negotiate or explore. They were here to conquer. Clara knew she had to act fast. If humanity wanted to survive, someone needed to figure out how to fight back. And she was uniquely qualified to lead the effort. For years she had been ridiculed and ignored, but now her expertise was humanity's best chance at salvation. With newfound determination, Clara contacted local authorities, offering her insights and proposing strategies to counter the alien threat. At first, officials dismissed her as just another panicked civilian, but when she presented her findings, complete with charts, graphs, and detailed explanations, they listened. Slowly but surely, respect replaced ridicule as people recognized the value of her knowledge. By evening, Clara found herself seated in a makeshift command center alongside military leaders, scientists, and engineers. Maps covered the walls and computer screens displayed real-time updates on the alien fleet's movements. Everyone looked to her for guidance, trusting her to help them navigate this unprecedented crisis. For the first time in her life, Clara felt truly respected. All those years of being mocked and underestimated had led to this moment, a chance to prove herself not just as a scientist, but as a leader. As she gazed at the monitors showing the alien ships looming ominously in the sky, Clara made a silent vow. She would do everything in her power to protect humanity, even if it meant risking her own life. The battle ahead would be difficult, perhaps impossible, but she refused to give up without a fight. Outside, the sky remained torn apart, revealing glimpses of the vastness beyond Earth. The alien fleet continued its descent, casting long shadows over cities and towns. Fear gripped the hearts of billions, but amidst the despair, a spark of hope flickered to life. And at the center of it all stood Clara Bennett, a woman once dismissed as a dreamer, now hailed as humanity's greatest asset. In the face of annihilation, the command center buzzed with activity as Clara worked tirelessly alongside military leaders, scientists, and engineers. Maps covered the walls, glowing screens displayed real-time updates on the alien fleet's movements, and phones rang non-stop, with incoming reports from around the globe. Everyone looked to Clara for answers, trusting her to guide them through this unprecedented crisis. For someone who had spent years being ridiculed and dismissed, it was both overwhelming and empowering. At first, Clara struggled to adapt to her new role. She wasn't used to giving orders or making decisions that could affect millions of lives. Her hands trembled as she pointed out patterns in the aliens' movements on a digital map projected onto the wall. "They're not random," she explained, her voice steady despite her nerves. "These ships are following a strategy. They're probing our defenses, testing how we respond." Her observations were met with nods of agreement. Colonel Grayson, a grizzled veteran leading the military response, leaned forward and asked, "So what do you suggest? How do we hit them where it hurts?" Clara hesitated. She knew the stakes. Any misstep could mean disaster, but she also knew they couldn't afford to wait. Taking a deep breath, she began outlining her plan. "We need to focus on their technology," she said. "From what I've analyzed, their ships rely heavily on electromagnetic fields to maintain their shields and propulsion systems. If we can disrupt those fields, we might be able to disable them." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed her words. It was a bold idea, but it made sense. Electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, had been used before to disable electronic devices, though never on such a massive scale. The challenge would be creating EMP devices powerful enough to affect the alien fleet without causing widespread damage to Earth's own infrastructure. "We'll need to coordinate strikes across multiple continents," Clara continued, pointing to key locations on the map. "If we time it right, we can target several ships simultaneously. Once their shields are down, your fighters can move in and finish the job." Colonel Grayson studied her closely, his expression unreadable. Finally, he nodded. "It's risky, but it's the best shot we've got. Let's make it happen." With that, the team sprang into action. Engineers began designing portable EMP devices capable of emitting high-intensity bursts. Scientists calculated the optimal frequencies needed to penetrate the aliens' shielding. Meanwhile, military strategists mapped out attack routes and coordinated with air forces worldwide. Every detail mattered, and Clara found herself at the heart of it all, overseeing each step of the operation. Despite the flurry of activity, doubt lingered in the back of Clara's mind. What if her calculations were wrong? What if the aliens anticipated their plan and countered it? She pushed those thoughts aside, reminding herself that hesitation wouldn't save anyone. Humanity's survival depended on her staying focused. As the days passed, Clara grew more confident in her abilities. Her colleagues, once skeptical of her theories, now treated her with genuine respect. Even Mr. Harris, her former boss who had mocked her obsession with UFOs, called to apologize. "I was wrong about you, Clara," he admitted over the phone. "You're exactly the kind of person we need right now." Though the apology meant little compared to the gravity of the situation, Clara appreciated the sentiment. It was proof that people were finally listening, not because of fear or pity, but because they recognized her value. Still, the pressure mounted. Sleep became a luxury Clara couldn't afford. She survived on coffee and adrenaline, spending long hours poring over data and refining the plan. Her body ached from exhaustion, but her determination never wavered. Each setback only fueled her resolve to find a solution. One night, as she reviewed satellite footage of the alien ships, Clara noticed something peculiar. The vessels emitted faint pulses of energy at regular intervals, almost like heartbeats. Intrigued, she zoomed in on the readings, her eyes widening as she realized what she was looking at. "They're communicating," she whispered to herself. Rushing to share her discovery, Clara gathered the team and explained her findings. "These pulses aren't random. They're signals. The ships are coordinating with each other, sharing information in real time. If we can intercept those signals, we might be able to confuse them, throw them off balance." The idea sparked excitement among the group. Breaking the aliens' communication network could give humanity a critical advantage. With renewed energy, the team set to work developing tools to jam the signals. It was a risky gamble, but one they couldn't ignore. As preparations neared completion, Clara took a rare moment to step outside the command center. The sky above was still split open, revealing glimpses of the alien fleet hovering ominously in the distance. Fires burned in parts of the city, and the streets were eerily quiet, abandoned by residents seeking safety. Despite the destruction, Clara felt a glimmer of hope. They had a plan, a chance to fight back against the invaders. A young soldier approached her holding out a cup of coffee. "You should rest, ma'am," he said gently. "You've done more than anyone could ask." Clara smiled weakly, accepting the drink. "Thanks, but there's no time for rest. Not yet." The soldier hesitated, then added, "People are counting on you, you know. My family included. Whatever happens, thank you for trying." His words struck a chord deep within her. For so long, Clara had fought alone, driven by her own convictions. Now she realized she wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for everyone. Billions of lives depended on her success. Returning to the command center, Clara threw herself back into the mission with renewed vigor. She double-checked every calculation, tested every device, and rehearsed the timing of the attacks until it was perfect. Failure wasn't an option. Finally, the day of the operation arrived. Codenamed Skybreaker, the mission required precise coordination across dozens of teams stationed around the world. Clara stood at the center of it all, monitoring communications and ensuring everything went according to plan. As the countdown began, tension filled the room. Soldiers suited up, pilots climbed into their jets, and engineers activated the EMP devices. Clara gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white as she watched the seconds tick away. When the moment came, the EMP devices roared to life, releasing powerful bursts of electromagnetic energy. The effect was immediate. Alien ships faltered, their shields flickering and fading. Fighter jets swooped in, targeting weakened areas of the vessels. Explosions lit up the sky as debris rained down over oceans and deserts. Back at the command center, cheers erupted as the first wave of attacks succeeded. Clara allowed herself a brief smile, but she knew the battle wasn't over. The aliens regrouped quickly, launching counterattacks that forced humanity to adapt on the fly. Through it all, Clara remained calm and collected, guiding the team through each phase of the operation. Her leadership inspired those around her, proving that even someone who had once been dismissed as a dreamer could rise to greatness when the stakes were highest. By the end of the day, the tide had turned. The alien fleet retreated, its once mighty armada reduced to smoldering wreckage. Though the cost had been high, with countless lives lost and cities left in ruins, the victory was undeniable. As news of the triumph spread, celebrations broke out worldwide. People danced in the streets, sang songs of gratitude, and hailed Clara as a hero. Once ridiculed and ignored, she was now celebrated as the woman who saved humanity. But Clara didn't revel in the praise. Instead, she gazed at the repaired sky, her heart heavy with the weight of responsibility. The battle may have been won, but the war was far from over. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Vorthic Dominion still lurked, waiting for another opportunity to strike. For now, though, humanity had earned a reprieve, and Clara intended to use it wisely. The aftermath of Operation Skybreaker left Earth in a state of both relief and devastation. Cities lay in ruins, their streets littered with debris and charred remains of buildings. Entire neighborhoods had been reduced to rubble during the alien attacks, and the scars of battle were everywhere. Smoke hung heavy in the air, mixing with the cries of survivors searching for loved ones amidst the chaos. Hospitals overflowed with the injured, while makeshift shelters housed thousands displaced by the destruction. Yet, despite the physical toll, there was an undeniable sense of triumph. For the first time since the Vorthic Dominion arrived, humanity felt hope. The invaders' retreat proved that they weren't invincible, and Clara Bennett stood at the center of it all. Her leadership during the operation had turned the tide of the war, earning her respect not just from her colleagues but from people around the world. In the days following the battle, Clara became a symbol of resilience and determination. News outlets hailed her as the woman who saved Earth, broadcasting interviews where she spoke about the importance of unity and innovation in overcoming adversity. Politicians invited her to speak at global summits, eager to capitalize on her newfound fame. Even her former detractors apologized profusely, admitting they'd underestimated her brilliance and resolve. But Clara didn't let the attention go to her head. She knew the victory was far from complete. Though the alien fleet had retreated, the threat wasn't gone. It was merely postponed. The Vorthic Dominion wouldn't abandon its conquest so easily. They were regrouping, planning their next move, and humanity needed to prepare for whatever came next. With this in mind, Clara threw herself into rebuilding efforts. She worked closely with governments and scientists to develop new technologies designed to defend against future attacks. EMP devices were mass-produced and distributed to military bases worldwide. Satellites equipped with advanced sensors monitored the skies for any sign of the aliens' return, and research teams studied fragments of the destroyed ships, hoping to uncover weaknesses in the Vorthic technology. Despite her tireless efforts, Clara struggled with guilt. She couldn't shake the images of burning cities and grieving families. Every life lost weighed heavily on her conscience. Had she pushed too hard? Could there have been another way to win without such widespread destruction? These questions haunted her late at night when silence filled her small apartment. One evening, as she sat alone staring at the repaired sky, Colonel Grayson visited unexpectedly. He carried 2 cups of coffee and placed one gently on the table beside her. "You look like you could use this," he said softly. Clara managed a weak smile. "Thanks." They sat together in silence for a while, watching the stars twinkle faintly above. Finally, Grayson broke the quiet. "You're doing good work, Clara. Don't forget that." "I know," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it doesn't feel like enough. So many people died because of me, because I convinced everyone to trust my plan." Grayson shook his head firmly. "No. People died because the Vorthic attacked us. You gave them a fighting chance, a way to protect their homes and families. Without you, we'd all be dead right now." His words struck a chord deep within her. She realized he was right. Dwelling on the losses wouldn't change anything. What mattered now was ensuring humanity was ready for the next challenge. Determined to move forward, Clara shifted her focus to strengthening Earth's defenses. She proposed creating an international coalition dedicated to space exploration and defense, arguing that humanity needed to expand its reach beyond the planet if it hoped to survive long-term. The idea gained traction quickly, with leaders recognizing the importance of working together rather than competing for resources. Under Clara's guidance, construction began on orbital defense platforms designed to detect and intercept threats before they reached Earth's surface. Engineers developed fighter drones capable of operating independently in space, giving humanity an edge in future battles. Meanwhile, astronomers scanned the cosmos for signs of other civilizations, hoping to establish alliances or at least learn more about potential enemies. As months passed, Earth slowly recovered from the devastation. Communities rebuilt, stronger, and more united than before. People embraced a renewed sense of purpose inspired by Clara's vision of a better future. Schools introduced programs focused on science and technology, encouraging children to dream big and pursue careers in fields that could help safeguard humanity. Clara herself remained deeply involved in every aspect of the recovery effort. She traveled extensively, meeting with world leaders, addressing conferences, and visiting devastated areas to offer support. Wherever she went, crowds gathered to cheer her name, holding up banners that read, "Thank you, Clara," and "Hero of Earth." Though grateful for the recognition, Clara never lost sight of why she was doing what she did. It wasn't about fame or accolades. It was about protecting the fragile blue planet she called home. One day, while reviewing satellite data, Clara noticed something unusual. A cluster of objects appeared near the edge of the solar system, moving steadily toward Earth. At first, she thought it might be asteroids or comets, but further analysis revealed otherwise. These objects emitted faint energy signatures similar to those of the Vorthic ships. Her heart sank as realization dawned. The invaders were back, and this time, they were coming prepared. Clara immediately alerted the coalition, calling an emergency meeting to discuss the situation. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials gathered in the command center, their faces grim as they absorbed the news. "We've bought ourselves some time," Clara said, pointing to the screen displaying the approaching fleet. "But not much. If we want to stand a chance, we need to act fast." Colonel Grayson nodded. "What's the plan?" Clara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "We fortify our orbital defenses and deploy every available resource to intercept them before they reach Earth. We can't afford to wait until they're here. We strike first." The room erupted in murmurs as everyone processed her proposal. Striking preemptively was risky, but waiting would leave Earth vulnerable. After a tense debate, the decision was made. Humanity would take the fight to the invaders. Preparations began immediately. Fighter jets armed with EMP weapons launched into orbit, joining newly constructed drones and forming a defensive perimeter around Earth. Orbital platforms powered up their targeting systems, ready to fire at a moment's notice. Down below, civilians braced themselves for another round of conflict, praying that Clara's plan would succeed. As the alien fleet drew closer, tension mounted. Clara spent hours monitoring their movements, calculating trajectories, and adjusting strategies accordingly. Sleep became a distant memory once again, replaced by endless cups of coffee and adrenaline-fueled determination. Finally, the moment arrived. The alien ships entered range, their glowing forms casting eerie shadows across the void of space. Clara gave the order, and the battle began. Orbital platforms unleashed barrages of missiles, striking the lead ships with devastating force. Drones swarmed the invaders, firing EMP bursts that disabled shields and propulsion systems. Human pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire to deliver crippling blows. For hours, the battle raged on. Explosions lit up the darkness as debris floated silently through space. Communication channels crackled with updates and orders, each voice strained with urgency. Back on Earth, billions watched live broadcasts of the fight, holding their breaths as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Children clung to their parents, tears streaming down their faces. Elderly couples prayed quietly, hoping for a miracle. And then, suddenly, it was over. The remaining alien ships broke formation and fled, disappearing into the depths of space. Cheers erupted in the command center as confirmation came through. Humanity had won. Exhausted but triumphant, Clara leaned back in her chair, letting out a shaky laugh. Against all odds, they had done it. Together, humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. But even as celebrations broke out worldwide, Clara knew the universe still held countless mysteries and dangers. This victory was only the beginning. With renewed resolve, she vowed to continue pushing forward, ensuring that Earth would always be ready to face whatever came next. After all, the stars shone brighter than ever, and Clara intended to keep reaching for them. The victory over the Vorthic Dominion marked a turning point for humanity. For the first time in history, people across the globe truly came together, united by a shared struggle and a common purpose. The scars of battle remained visible, burned out, cities, empty homes, and countless lives lost. But so too did the resilience and determination that had carried humanity through its darkest hour. And at the heart of it all stood Clara Bennett, the woman who had once been dismissed as a dreamer, but now stood as a beacon of hope and innovation. In the weeks following the final battle, Earth began to heal. Reconstruction efforts transformed devastated landscapes into thriving communities once again. Governments collaborated on rebuilding projects, pooling resources to ensure no region was left behind. Streets that had been reduced to rubble were paved anew. Schools reopened their doors and parks blossomed with greenery. Though the wounds ran deep, there was an undeniable sense of renewal, a promise that life would go on. Clara played a pivotal role in shaping this new era. Her vision extended beyond simply repairing what had been broken. She wanted to prepare humanity for the future. She advocated for advancements in space exploration, urging world leaders to invest in technologies that could protect Earth from cosmic threats, while also expanding its reach into the stars. Under her guidance, research facilities sprang up around the globe, dedicated to studying alien technology recovered from the wreckage of Vorthik ships. Scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer these artifacts, unlocking secrets that could revolutionize human civilization. One of Clara's most ambitious projects was the creation of the Stellar Defense Initiative, SDI, an international coalition tasked with safeguarding Earth from extraterrestrial threats. The SDI combined military forces, scientific expertise, and diplomatic efforts under one umbrella, ensuring that humanity would never again be caught off guard by invaders from beyond the stars. Orbital defense platforms were upgraded, fighter drones became more sophisticated, and early warning systems monitored every corner of the solar system for signs of danger. But Clara didn't stop there. Recognizing that survival depended not just on defense but also on understanding, she pushed for humanity to take its first steps toward becoming an interstellar species. Space stations orbiting Earth served as hubs for research and development, while robotic probes ventured farther into the cosmos than ever before. Plans were drawn up for manned missions to nearby star systems, driven by the belief that humanity's destiny lay among the stars. Her ideas inspired a cultural shift. Schools introduced programs focused on astronomy, engineering, and diplomacy, encouraging children to think beyond their own lifetimes and consider the broader implications of humanity's place in the universe. Movies, books, and art celebrated themes of exploration and unity, reflecting the collective optimism that swept across the planet. People dreamed bigger, imagined farther, and dared to believe in possibilities once thought impossible. Yet, despite her success, Clara remained humble. She often reminded herself and others that she hadn't done it alone. Countless individuals had contributed to humanity's triumph, from soldiers risking their lives in battle to engineers designing cutting-edge weapons. Even those who had doubted her in the past found ways to make amends, joining her cause with renewed enthusiasm. Greg, the co-worker who used to mock her theories, became one of her closest allies, helping coordinate logistics for the SDI. Mr. Harris, her former boss, admitted he'd been wrong to dismiss her obsession with UFOs and now supported her initiatives wholeheartedly. Clara's journey wasn't without challenges, however. As humanity looked outward, questions about ethics and responsibility arose. Should they seek revenge against the Vorthik Dominion? What if encountering other civilizations led to conflict rather than cooperation? How far should they push technological advancements without considering potential consequences? These debates raged in conference rooms and living rooms alike, forcing society to confront uncomfortable truths about itself. Through it all, Clara stayed grounded, drawing strength from the lessons she had learned along the way. She remembered the nights spent gazing at the stars when no one believed in her dreams. She recalled the ridicule she endured and the moments of doubt that nearly broke her spirit. But she also remembered the joy of discovery, the thrill of solving problems others deemed unsolvable, and the satisfaction of proving her critics wrong. As years passed, Clara's influence continued to grow. She traveled the world, speaking at universities, addressing world leaders, and meeting ordinary citizens eager to hear her story. Her speeches emphasized the importance of curiosity, collaboration, and courage, qualities she believed defined humanity's greatest strengths. "You don't have to be extraordinary to make a difference," she often said. "You just have to care enough to try." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring millions to pursue their passions regardless of obstacles. Young girls looked up to her as proof that women could lead in fields traditionally dominated by men. Scientists credited her with sparking a renaissance in space exploration. Even skeptics admitted that her persistence had saved the planet. Despite her fame, Clara never forgot where she came from. She returned frequently to her small town, visiting old friends and walking the same streets she had grown up on. The locals greeted her warmly, proud of what she had achieved. Children ran up to her asking for autographs or stories about aliens, and she obliged with a smile, always happy to share her knowledge. One evening, as she stood on the roof of her childhood home, Clara gazed at the sky through her trusty telescope. The stars twinkled brightly above, their light undimmed by the battles humanity had fought. She thought about how far they had come, from a species cowering in fear to one reaching boldly for the unknown. A soft breeze rustled the trees below, carrying with it the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed, a reminder of life moving forward. Clara smiled, feeling a profound sense of peace. Though the universe still held mysteries yet unsolved, she knew humanity was ready to face them. Together they had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope could guide the way. And as long as people like Clara Bennett existed, dreamers willing to challenge convention and fight for a better tomorrow, the stars would always shine brighter.